Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the April 1st edition of Wake Up Newport. I'm Steve Rosansky, President and CEO of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome you to our monthly meeting. We've got a great program for you this morning. Great speaker, Daniele Struppa. He's spoken to Wake Up Newport several times before, and it's always interesting to hear what he has to say about the Chapman College and life in general, because he has an interesting outlook on things. With us this morning, I want to reintroduce a good friend of the Chamber and a banker over at First Republic Bank. They're the sponsor of our series. Where's Tyler? Tyler, why don't you come on here? There he is. Tyler's going to tell you a little bit about what's going on at First Republic before we kick off our show. So go ahead, Tyler.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Steve, for the introduction, and good morning, Newport Beach. We are happy to be here. First, let me briefly reintroduce myself. I'm Tyler Parker, and I'm the Preferred Banking Office Manager for First Republic Bank in Corona Del Mar. What a year it has been. When I went into banking over 14 years ago, I never imagined a circumstance where I would be working from home in any capacity. Let me be specific, however. My office never closed. Two things were extremely important to us: taking care of our colleagues and continuing to take excellent care of our clients. A little bit about the bank. We are a private banking organization headquartered in San Francisco. On July 1st in 1985, we opened our doors at 201 Pine Street in San Francisco with fewer than 10 colleagues and only one office. With an enterprise value of $8.8 million, we were one of the smallest banks in the United States out of approximately 14,000. By our 35th anniversary in July 2020, we had over 5,000 colleagues across more than 80 offices in 7 states. Through organic growth, First Republic Bank has become the 14th largest U.S. bank with an enterprise value greater than $19 billion. This represents a record growth in total of enterprise value of 25% per annum compounded for 35 years. Our growth has never been the goal, however, only the outcome of taking exceptional care of our clients, communities, and one another. Throughout the last year, we made accommodations to allow all members of our workforce the opportunity and the capacity, the tools needed to serve our clients from the safety of their home. Adjustments to the office to allow our clients to continue to visit us in person. We added products to work with our consumer and our business clients more efficiently, and maintained the highest level of client care that we are known for. Newport Beach, we are here for you. We look forward to serving you. My office is on the corner of PCH and Goldenrod. We are open for business. We have been open for business and would love the opportunity to meet you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. I'm assuming you guys have a full program there of all kinds of loans, auto loans, home loans, business loans, all that kind of stuff that people might be looking for.
We are a full service banking organization. There's a few things that we do very, very, very well. Mortgages is a great opportunity for that. And if there are specific topics that you would like me to discuss in the future, I would be happy to bring on a specialist in that area.
Okay, well, we appreciate your participation and sponsorship of the program, and we'll look forward to seeing you next month when you come back and tell us a little bit more about First Republic. So with that being said, let's move on to our program, and here to introduce our speaker is my better half. At least he thinks he is.
You got that right.
He thinks in his mind he's the better half of this show. Is Rush Hill, my compadre and former mayor, city council member, and man about town. So Rush, why don't you take it away? I will just say before I turn it over to Rush, Daniele's going to talk for a while, and then we're going to open it up for a Q&A at the end. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box down below. Just click on there and type the question in, and then Daniele, he promised to take any and all comer questions after I curate them, of course. No. So there you go. I'll turn it over to Rush. Thank you.
Well, good morning once again, and welcome to Wake Up Newport, to April Fool's Day. So if you believe anything that Steve said, you probably need to rethink some of that. But we're very excited to have the president of Chapman University with us. Dr. Struppa is the 13th president of Chapman. in Orange. And before assuming his 2016 title, he had served as Chapman University's chancellor, which is the chief academic officer, for 10 years, and dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at George Mason University for 9 years. Dr. Struppa is a mathematician whose expertise is in the field of Fourier analysis. I had a friend that studied 3-year analysis, but I didn't realize there was 4-year. But Dr. Struppa is author of 10 volumes, more than 200 peer-reviewed publications, and holds several patents in the field of signal processing. Dr. Struppa has received numerous awards, including the 2016 Korzela Prize from the National Academy of Sciences, the Ellis Island Medal of Honor, and is a member of the National Academy of Inventors. Dr. Struppa was born in Milano, Italy, and in 1955 came to the United States, 1978, to pursue his Ph.D. at the University of Maryland. After a few years in Italy, he came back to the United States as a professor of mathematics at George Mason University in 1988. He's married to Mary Elizabeth Sparks, who is the Dean of the School of Communications at Chapman University, and is the father of 4 wonderful, well-behaved, incredible children. We are very honored to have you with us this morning, Dr. Struppa, and I'm going to hand it over to you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raj. I appreciate the splendid introduction. I don't know about the well-behaved about my kids. They must have inserted that in the script when I was not paying attention. So good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for having me over. This is my 3rd time, I believe, that I present with you. I want to thank First Republic Bank for being the sponsor. I particularly appreciate what Tyler was saying before, the fundamental principles that I think we should all abide by. You take care of your colleagues, you take care of your clients, and you take care of the community. So I want to acknowledge this statement. It's very important. It's in a difficult time like the Corona crisis we had over the last now year and 13 months. Those are principles that it's important to live by. So thank you to our sponsor for doing that. And we try to embody the same. I have to tell you, I almost came down this morning. I woke up and I got dressed and I was ready to get into the car to drive to the library because Chapman is open. So I've been going to work regularly. And then I kind of got a last minute doubt. I checked and I saw Zoom. And so then I called my assistant in a panic, and it turns out that, I was doing this on Zoom. So here I am. It's not as enjoyable because for a speaker, it's really nice when you talk and you see people's reaction, you see people's faces, you see people's smiles, and now I can just see myself, which is not as exciting, I must confess. Before I talk to you a little bit about Chapman, and I'm going to put on I'm going to share the screen in a second with my PowerPoint, I want to tell you how happy I am and how happy my family is that we are living in Newport Beach. Despite the pandemic, the wonderful restaurants that we have here, the great shops, the obviously Fashion Island, the entire Corona del Mar area, it's been a godsend to me and especially to my kids. I'm a grown-up, so wherever you put me, I'm okay. But kids, especially young kids, they need the ability to socialize, and partly because of the wonderful weather here, and partly because of the wonderful establishment that surround us. Living in Newport Beach throughout the pandemic has been a real blessing. So we are grateful to be here. We are happy to be here. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit about Chapman. This has been, as you may imagine, a really difficult year. It's been a difficult year for everybody. Let me just start sharing the screen. Let's see if this is what I want to share. There's always a challenge. Let's see, making sure that I can maneuver this object. Yes, I can. Great. We're in good shape. So as I was saying, this was a difficult year. We went remote on the 13th of March of last year. I was lucky, I have to say, because in end of January, beginning of February, I got a sense that this was going to be a problem. And so I reached out immediately to my COO, and we started putting in place plans. I said, if this continues, there's going to be a collapse in the revenues because students won't be able to stay in our housings, and There may be a potential the students are not going to come back in the fall. So I think we need to put in place some controls over our expenditures. And if there is something I'm extremely proud about Chapman, is that we have a great ability to control the faucets, if you want, of expenditures. And so we immediately acted, and the action we took, and our board of trustees have been very supportive, has enabled Chapman to go through this pandemic really well. Not only we made it through, but we're actually significantly stronger than we were last year. It's really impressive, and I'm really proud about that. I also remember with some chuckles that on March 13, I decided we're going to close the university. I sent, I had a conversation with senior staff, and then we sent this fateful message saying from tomorrow, everybody's going to be teaching remote. We gave faculty 1 week of time. We said, you can, if you need, you can cancel classes for 1 week as you kind of figure out what to do. And then everybody will be back and providing instruction. Actually, most of our faculty just didn't even, blink and went back into remote immediately. But I remember that when I said that, I was talking to my wife, Lisa, and I said, I hope I'm not doing a mistake, because if this pandemic, at the time we didn't even use the word pandemic, if this virus goes away in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be looking like a complete fool. We sent all of our students back home, and then in 2 weeks, what do? You can't have them back. And parents were asking me, well, what if the virus goes away? Are you going to resume in class? What about my son? My son is already back in New York. I was getting literally hundreds and hundreds of messages. And to add to the kind of humorous situation, with you have to laugh, otherwise you cry. Until the week before we decided to close, there was actually a petition with more than 1,500 signatures in which they were saying that I had blood on my hands because I was keeping the university open despite this tremendous danger. As soon as we closed, I got another petition about the same number of people asking for money back now that I was closing. So you really can't win, right? But the reality is that Chapman did well, not only financially and instructionally, but also from the point of view of the impact of the corona. Very few people got sick. I was one of those. And I got sick not because of Chapman, but because of one of my well-behaved children. Arianna, she's 16. She just left a minute ago to go to school. She goes to school to Pacifica Christian here in Newport Beach, and behind Hoag Hospital. And she came home, she's 16. What do you expect from a 16-year-old? She socialized, she came home. Sunday night, she had a fever. Monday night, I have a fever, and we were both sick in bed. And because it wasn't simple enough, she decided to bring a friend of her to live at home with us. She was also sick. So there were three of us, myself sick, my daughter sick, her friend, Emma, I think, sick. And my poor 13-year-old Athena, she was our nurse, bringing up the food and the water. We were staying in faraway rooms in the house. My wife, cleverly enough, was in Georgia during those weeks, so she didn't get sick. And when she came home, she went to stay with her mom until we were good to go. So it's been quite an experience. But Chapman, as I said, we had very few cases, and none of the cases has been serious. So we provided that we put a lot of attention on staying healthy. We spent a huge amount of money to create all kinds of infrastructure. Even now, when you walk through Chapman, you can disinfect your hands every 5 steps. There are paws on the floor that tell you where you should stay. We have glasses and plexiglass in every office. We gave everybody a little instrument so you can open the door of your classroom without touching the handle. And if you forget it and you touch the handle when you're inside, there is a disinfecting station. So we are quite happy. And our attention to this is actually being recognized. And as you know, we have a pharmacy school in Irvine. And one of our professors there, Dr. Gold, is actually part of the COVID Ready, which is a California-wide operation to design the vaccination plan, the strategies for the entire state. So the fact that our faculty are being chosen to lead this important operation is really something that satisfies what I thought was the third point that Tyler mentioned before when you talk about taking care of the community. So it's not just about us professors, it's not just about the students, it's about also the rest of the community. And I'm really proud to say that our faculty, especially in pharmacy and health science, they just jumped on it and they become an active part of the defense of the state against the coronavirus. We have been on the front line of vaccine distribution. These pictures are taken from the parking lot at Disneyland. Our students have been there helping and supporting. These are students mostly from our PA program, Physician Assistant Program, which is an absolutely spectacular program we have here in Irvine, as well as our health sciences. So we did well, but we also didn't forget that we have a role in the community, and we are happy and proud to have done that. Now, I mentioned the university has done well, and I could speak for hours. In fact, I gave about a month ago, I gave my state of the university, which was actually a little bit above an hour, but I'm gonna make this much shorter for you. But I want to tell you a little bit. I want to gloat a little bit and show my pride about what we have accomplished. We are ranked at our best ranking ever, number 124 in the nation. And my board knows that my goal is to put us in the top 100. I think we'll be there. When you are in that level, keep in mind there are about 3,000 institutions in the country. So number 124 is really good. But when you're at that level, there are fluctuations. You go up a few numbers, go down a few numbers. But I think we'll see a trend that is going to move us into the real top. Even more exciting for me is that we are ranked number 39 in undergraduate teaching. That's is an astonishing number, and to me is an important number for all parents who have young children that need to go to college. What you do, you look at the quality of the undergraduate teaching, and being ranked number 39 in the country is exciting. Our film school, we've always been very proud of the film school, and now we are ranked number 4. The RAP published a list of the top 50 schools, and we are number 4 there. And here in the picture at the center, with that blue shirt, you see our new dean, Stephen Galloway. He was the editor. So we had the dean, the founding dean of our Dodge College was there for almost 20 years. And he retired last year, and we hired Stephen Galloway, who was the editor of Hollywood Reporter. So he's somebody very well embedded in the Hollywood scene. And that's very important for our students because, of course, it provides them an opportunity for the connections, which is what students need in the next phase of their life. Our School of Business Economics, the Argyll School of Business Economics, is one of our jewels. You see here their home, that's Beckman Hall in the center of our campus, is now ranked number 77 in the nation. Something very exciting, and the plan there is to move it in the top 50. We have a campaign going on, it's called 50 for 50. We want to bring to $50 million the endowment they have, because that is something that allows clearly the growth, the hiring of the best faculty. So we are very proud of what the business school is doing. One of the things you should all know, that's the #1 undergraduate business school in the West. So again, as a parent, that's a place where I would want to send my kids. That there is one Nobel Prize in the school, which is a remarkable fact. Professor Vernon Smith, who got the Nobel Prize in 2002, for essentially creating a brand new branch of economics, which is called experimental and behavioral economics. And I'm not going to give an economics class, but the fundamental idea that he came up with this idea maybe 50, 60 years ago. And the idea is that traditional economics is studied with mathematical instruments that tell you what the system will do, what the markets will do. And, everybody knows about supply and demand, for example, okay? So you have the supply curve, the demand curve, and they determine the price of goods. And all those laws are obviously important laws, but what Vernon realized is that humans behave in ways that sometimes betray these laws. And so if you really want to make accurate prediction of what's going to happen, you have to insert this human factor. And that's how behavioral economics was born. And to prove that, he devised a set of experiments. And we are carrying out these experiments on our campus literally on a daily basis. And that's why we are now the #1 and #2 in the world every year for the work that is done in this area. Our law school continues to be one of the best schools in the nation. The Fowler School of Law is now ranked number 134 in the nation. This is the ranking that came out actually, I think it comes out today officially. So you're probably the first to hear this. We heard it about a week ago. We have also made a great stride in another very important area, which is data sciences. I mean, all of you who run businesses or work with business know how important data science are. Every decision we made is now informed by data, but the amount of data available is growing in a way that makes it really complicated to keep track of it. And we are one of our master program, and we see here Dr. Elascari, who is the chair of the program, is number 12 in the nation. There was a publication that listed the top 20, and we are actually number 12. And when we compete with places like Johns Hopkins, so with Columbia or University or Stanford. So we are really, again, up there in the top. What do we use data science for? Well, we use it for a wide variety of applications. About a month ago, I was at a conference with some colleagues from China, because our team, and I'm happy to be a member of the team, wrote a series of articles on how to use data science to identify the kind of heart irregularities that people have and to classify their severity and their potential for significant heart event. So this is it's a very interesting project because, as you may imagine, you have a lot of data which are essentially EKG, and you try to look at those EKG and analyze them and extract information that will be predictive of the severity of a possible attack, or even help you classify it. So that's one example. Another example, you see on the left of the picture, there is an antenna, because we take data from satellite, is the prediction of climatic events, weather events, and climatic change. We are probably among the most important experts in the world, actually, for some of the activity that is currently happening in the Mediterranean Sea. You may have read on the paper about how Egypt is particularly upset about some plans that Ethiopia is having of filling a dam with water from the Nile River. Well, our people, in particular the team led by Professor Elascari, is working with the Egyptian government to provide the data of what would be the climatic impact of such an event. So these are major science applications, but the other area in which we are really working very hard is application to business. And we now have a new STEM MBA, so it's an MBA, Master of Business Administration, which bring in STEM applications so that we provide our manager with the ability of using this data to make the important decisions that they need to make. We talked about our taking care of our clients before. Our clients are, depending on how you think about it, are our students, or sometimes I think of the parents of our students, right? Because they're the one actually paying the bill. And our faculty, despite the crisis of the corona pandemic, has been incredibly successful. And one of our professors, I share here just the picture, but there is a phenomenal video that has gone absolutely viral, more than 3 million people watching it, was surprised in class by students. I don't know, there was a service, I think, on NBC News. What happened is that we teach remotely, so we have a Zoom. And one of the things we ask our students is to be visible on Zoom, so that the professor can look at you and see whether you're paying attention, to see from the face whether something is difficult to understand. So one day, Professor Jim Brown, with whose picture you see here, comes to class and everything is black. So he says, guys, can you turn on the Zoom? And nobody does it. What's going on? I mean, we got to start class. Can you please turn on the Zoom? And so all the Zoom turned on automatically. And the student had this big thank you note for him and for the work he had done under this situation. And the professor started crying. And so this was TikToked and went really viral throughout the entire country. It was a moment of levity, but also of recognition for the work that our colleagues do. So that the first point that we heard today, taking care of our colleagues, and how our faculty really have done everything to create an environment that is productive. I think that the success of everything we've done over this year can be illustrated maybe in the best way by looking at our new list of applications. We have a record number this year, 15,100 applications. We already sent out our admission letters in the last 2 weeks. So this is when I get the calls from the parents complaining that their kid was not admitted. And, you know, it's tough because we only have 1,700 spots available. So when you look at 15,000 applicants, you know that we're going to be saying no to a lot of people. And it's never pleasant. And the standards of Chapman have gone up and up and up. And so sometimes I get called from parents to say, you know, you admitted my son 5 years ago, and now his sister, which is much brighter than my son, and you turn her down. And you know, we have to say, you know, unfortunately, that's where we are now. The quality keeps increasing, and it's getting harder and harder to get. But this number, the number you see here, show really the increasing appeal of Chapman University. When I came in 2006, we had between 5,000 and 6,000 applicants. So this is almost 3 times as many. And for a number that is only marginally grown. So this is very, very exciting. And of course, it's important because it ensures the success of the institution. Before I move to the last chapter, which is the new facilities that I want to show you, because we have been building some amazing stuff. I also want to show another project that we have in place that I am personally participating in, and that shows again our care for the community, and that's underground grate. So this is a commitment that Chapman has made to former incarcerated students. These are all kids who come from juvenile hall in Santa Ana. And we have been going into juvenile hall in the past to teach. And then as they come out of that experience, they need a hand to get themselves ready for the next steps. They need us to be beside them to make sure that we diminish the potential of recidivism. And so these are actually students from a sociology class that Professor Vittoria Carti, which is an absolute angel that we have at Chapman, that she teaches. And I've been teaching every Saturday morning. I teach a math class. It actually finished last week. So this Saturday I'll be resting. But I've been teaching a math class for the same group of students. And to be honest, I have to tell you, it is remarkable to see the passion and the commitments of these young men and women. There is one woman in the group and the rest are all guys. They understand the importance of education. They understand how this is their chance to change their future. And sometimes I think, I wish that my luckier students who are in the classes with me at Chapman would display the same sense of commitment that these young men and women are expressing. So I'm proud that Chapman is doing this. I'm proud that Victoria Carti set up a series of classes. And as I said, I taught one now and I'm going to be teaching one next semester. I think it's a way for us, again, to show our commitment to our community and to show our commitment to people that made mistakes, but that they definitely want to get on a different path now. And now my last chapter of my presentation, and then I'm open to all of your Q&A, is the new facilities. So you would think in a crisis moment like this, people are retrenching. We are slowing down things. We are trying to save up. Well, we have actually are continuing our progression. And that's something that really, as a president, as you may imagine, makes me very proud. One of the first things I wanted to build at Chapman when I came 20 years ago was a school of engineering. My predecessor, Jim Doty, whom all of you know, interviewed me when I came for the job. And one of the things he told me, said, you know, Daniele, I'm really looking for a provost and then chancellor that would make Chapman one of the best universities in the country. And I said, I looked at the financial that you guys have, and I think I could help make it happen. But I think to make it happen, we need to make a commitment to the science and to engineering. There is no great school in the nation that doesn't have a strength in the science of engineering. And at the time in 2006, we didn't have any of those. Jim agreed with me, the board agreed with this idea. And so, as you know, a couple of years ago, we inaugurated the Keck Center for Science and Technology. And we built 2/3 of it, which was the Hall of Science, where we are now finishing up the Hall of Engineering. We received a wonderful gift from the Swenson family, a $5 million gift. And so now the whole, here you see some pictures of what it's going to look like, but it's going to be ready by the end of this academic year. So fall 2021, the students will walk into this new hall. It's spectacular. It's more than 40,000 square feet. It's designed with really innovative ideas. No offices or very limited amount of office space. The rest is open space where faculty we interact with each other, faculty interact with students interact with students, and there are labs, there are creation labs, construction labs. I mean, this is going to be a spectacular institution. We have already approved the new bachelor degrees. We are graduating actually the student, because the Bachelor in Computer Science migrated into the School of Engineering. We are already planning for a master program. I'm extremely excited. And we're looking, frankly, to the support from the community. We want to make this one of the best engineering schools. Interestingly enough, we just hired 5 faculty, 4 of which are women, which is very rare. If you go to most engineering schools, you will see a trend towards being a male-dominated discipline. And I think we are back in the trend there, and I'm proud of that. It's going to be a really very special school. Our students, we've been able to admit a lot of students completely for free with the help of local supporters in the community. We have provided scholarships, Massimo, Edward Life Science, and others. So very, very exciting. A second beautiful, beautiful project is completely donor funded is the Hilbert Museum renovation. Now, if you come to Orange, let's say you come by train, I know you wouldn't, but if you come by train just to locate you physically, as you get out of the station, the first thing you see in front of you is the Hilbert Museum. And I don't know if I can put my cursor here. I don't know how you see. This is the train station here, the gray part. Okay, so you see my little cursor moving the train station, and this is the Hilbert Museum. Next to it, we have a dance studio, the Judy Partridge dance studio. Well, the dance department has grown dramatically, and I'll talk about it in a second. So we're going to move them to a new and much better location, and we're going to absorb this part, and we're going to double essentially almost the size of the Hilbert Museum. And so these are some drawing of what the expansion, I said double, but I read here triple the footprint. Because essentially what we are doing is we have the original building, the building that is now Partridge, and the courtyard in the middle. Is a $10 million of commitment that the anonymous donor has made in 2020. The art is phenomenal. And this is really going to be a new, we say here in this slide, the artistic gateway to campus, but in fact, I like to think of it as the artistic gateway to the city of Orange. As you arrive in Orange, the first thing you're going to see is this beautiful mural here, historically preserved, and then this beautiful museum. The museum is free. You can walk in, you can spend as little or as much time as you want. Docents can take you around and show it's all California art. So it really talks to us about where we live and how California looks like and what it used to look like and why it looks like the way it does. It's really a spectacular place. Docents, there's going to be a coffee shop, there's going to be a bookstore, and you can spend as much or as little time as you want, and then you walk through these arches, through this opening, and you enter into Orange. So I think for the city of Orange, it's going to be really, really beautiful, and would offer one more attraction of why people should be visiting. I mentioned that the building that you see here, when you look at the picture on the left, the right part building is already the Hilbert Museum. The left is the Partridge Dance Center. So what's happening with dance? Well, for dance, we are moving them. Again, we got a wonderful gift from Ron and Sandy Simon. And so this is going to be the Sandy Simon Center for Dance. It's in the former packing plant. You see here a picture down, the picture below is the way the packing plant looks from the outside. It's located in downtown Orange, and used to pack avocados and citrus fruit. And the picture above is what it looks like now, and it's beautiful. As you can see, there are all these open windows. So you can imagine how gorgeous this will be when it will be renovated. You're going to have studios. It's going to be more than double the size of the current dance studios. Our program has become one of the best in the nation, so I'm excited to offer our students the facilities they need. Now, there is something here that you don't see in the picture. I'm looking at the picture below. You see the packing plant with the original Sunkist logo here. And if you were to move the visual on the left-hand side, you would see our latest residence hall, the K, which is a beautiful 400 beds residence hall. So between the two buildings, there is a beautiful lawn and an area where students can spend time together. So again, I think it's remarkable to notice all of this happening while the pandemic has stricken. So this is Orange, but we are also working on our campus in Rinker. in Irvine is our Rinker Health Science Campus. And we are completely redesigning it. Right now, it's a bunch of buildings, but now we are really turning into a real campus. And I don't want to take too much of your time, but this is kind of the schematic of the plan. We are removing all the cars from the campus, and we are building on the other side of the campus a parking lot. It's a major parking structure with as you can see here, a running track on top. To avoid danger to our students and our faculty, we are building a bridge that will connect the parking area to the campus itself. And you will be welcomed here by a tower with the symbol of Chapman. And then these are all the buildings in our campus that is expanding. Is where we have our School of Pharmacy, Physician Assistant Program, Communication Science Disorders, Physical Therapy, the Brain Institute, and major research activities. So what we like to say about Chapman, and that's going to be my last slide, is that anything is imaginable, and we will make things happen. And I stop here. I hope I didn't take too much of your time, but I want to thank you for the opportunity to share with you some of the excitement. I'm going to get out of this screen sharing and happy to take any question. Thank you again.
Well, that was a great
Daniele.
overview of all things Chapman University. It seems like the coronavirus pandemic certainly hasn't slowed you down too much. And in some areas, it looks like you've got your foot on the accelerator. So, kudos to you and your team over there at Chapman. I'll just remind our attendees if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A box. We're happy to answer them. I know I've written down a few. Rush, do you have a question you want to ask?
Well, you just addressed one of my questions, and that was how many campuses do you have at this point in time? Where are you located other than in the downtown Orange?
So our historical campus, so to speak, is just a couple hundred yards away from the circle in Orange, and it's a beautiful historical campus. It was the old Orange High School, and eventually we moved in there, and then gradually expanded. And one of the things I always advertise with our parents when they are thinking about sending their kids to us is that the campus is in a town. So when you're finished studying, when you're going to school, and then at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock classes are over, you can really walk downtown and go for a bite, or in the morning you can walk downtown and go for your coffee at the Starbucks or one of the local coffee shops. And I think that creates an environment that is distinctively different from the environment of many other universities. I come from a beautiful campus in Virginia, George Mason University, but it was, you couldn't really leave the campus. I mean, if you left the campus, you were in the middle of a kind of a residential area. There wasn't much. Or sometimes you are in urban campuses where life is sort of a little gritty and difficult. The beauty of Orange, and we are really grateful to the city of Orange for how they make it happen, is that you are in a small town environment. It's very safe. It's very quaint. It's one of the most beautiful historical downtowns in the west of Mississippi. So that's one of the things we like. And then the other one that you saw in my last slide, of course, is in Irvine, and it's in the Spectrum area. So if you're coming north on Route 5 and you exit at the Spectrum, when you take the exit, you loop around and you go across the freeway on Alton, and in about a mile and a half, you get to the junction between Alton and Geronimo, and that's where our campus is. That's a very different campus, and one of the jobs we are trying to do is to make it look more like a campus. Right now is a bunch of clear business buildings. We bought buildings from businesses that were there, and so you don't see the structure of the campus, but that's what's going to happen over the next 2 or 3 years, and I think it's going to be completely transformed. We have a new VP for campus planning, Colette Krapel, who is absolutely phenomenal. She comes from Tulane, and she is a true intellectual, and she has a design in mind. She can see the way in which the space determines the look, that determines how you think about a place. Every time I come down to your beautiful library and I walk down and I see the way all of that area has been designed with the gardens and the sculptures, that's what we need to do. We need to do an environment that you feel like has a soul. And I think that that's what you guys have done in Newport, one of the reasons why we appreciate being here.
Well, as two of the architects of that beautiful civic center in Newport Beach, thank you for the compliment.
It's
One of
true.
my crowning achievements as a mayor and city councilman here in Newport Beach.
Well, it's not just about being beautiful, but it's about trying to create an environment that is energizing.
Mhm.
And I think the way you built it and the grading slope, and it really makes that. And so you put all together, it is not just the usual, bureaucratic building.
Right. Well, the goal, I think, at the time was to create a focal point for the community, a civic center,
Correct.
which
Yeah.
we didn't have before. We had a city hall and we had parks and we, may have had a little art sprinkled around town, but it brought it all together. And so thank you. Just to follow up on that, so you've expanded into Irvine. Are you basically built out in Orange? I know, it's a tight campus and you're in the middle of a residential neighborhood. And I know you acquire properties, but I mean, are we to expect to see that other campuses elsewhere in Orange County, extensions?
No, not in the immediate future. So in Orange, to answer your question, we are essentially built out. We are acquiring space. We haven't acquired yet, but we are trying to acquire space for one more parking lot, because that's obviously a problem for the city, and for our students. We need to finish the packing plant because a portion of it is going to be for our dance studio, but of course there is going to be some additional portions that we're going to use for the rest of the campus. We have 2 buildings on campus that we will tear down at some point and build better and newer buildings. But other than that, and then there's going to be probably one more residence hall that is going to be built at the intersection between Chapman Avenue and Route 5. So if you go to the circle and then you drive towards, I guess it's called east, and you get, no, west, and you get to intersection with Route 5, we have a small residence hall there, but we have a big piece of land behind it, 5 or 6 acres. We're going to take down the small business residence hall and build a big one, another probably 900 beds or so.
Wow.
We are trying to, we are committed to the city and we want to honor that we're going to house as many students as possible. Right now we are housing about half of our students. So that's going to be it. We have some more work to do in Irvine. We have 3 buildings that are now currently being renovated. One is going to be a student activities building. One is going to be a former parking area that is going to become a physical, fitness center, beautiful fitness center. And then we have 2 research buildings. And then that leaves us one more very large 170,000 square foot building for which we have no purpose yet, So I think that if you're looking at the next 5 to 7 years, that's what's going to happen. And so what happens later is a little harder to predict.
Sounds like your fundraising committee is going to be very busy paying for.
Oh yeah, that's what we do all the time. So it's
it's the story of my life here at the chamber.
That's right.
Is the Hilbert Museum open at this point in time?
Yes, it is. We just reopened it, I think last week. And now that the county is orange. I mean, we should have been always orange. We are Orange County. They should have made it illegal for Orange County to be any other color. But now that the governor is classified as orange, it's going to reopen in an even more significant way. And again, if you haven't been there, and I'm saying this to everyone that is in the audience today, take the time to go visit. It really is a remarkable museum. It's only California art, so it's very specific. It's figurative art, so it's not the abstract art, but every painting has a story. And you should find a way. I mean, I think you can connect online and find a way when actually Mr. Hilbert is there. He loves to show people around. And he gives this fantastic introduction, description to every single piece. So it's great for an afternoon that you are able to get out of some business meeting or some meeting ends earlier or you just get some excuse to go there. It really is very nice and worth seeing. We have schools all the time. Yeah.
I had the pleasure of visiting the Hilbert family in their home and looking at a major part of their collection. And I think, in fact, we were in competition with you as to where that group might land. And so congratulations to you, because it's a fabulous collection, and
Thank you.
very worthy of being permanently displayed.
Well, thank you for saying that. I mean, the Hilbert are great people, as you know, and extremely generous, and the collection is beautiful and deserves to be displayed. I mean, they build it up over their lives through their personal passion. And I think it's interesting because both Jan and Mark, I think they felt like they wanted to share it with other people. Just to have it for themselves wasn't enough anymore. They wanted to make sure people could appreciate it. And, you know, the collection is so large. That's why we had to triple the size of the museum.
We do have a question here. It's in the chat, not the Q&A, but I'll ask it anyway. It's from one of our members, Luke Daly. He's asking, well, he's thanking you for the talk. And then he wanted to know, what engineering disciplines does Chapman offer a major in?
Yes, thank you, Luke. Yeah, I actually have the chat open, so I saw the question popping up. So right now we have computer science, computer engineering, and electrical engineering. So these are, so it's what you would call really a software/electrical engineering school.
Oh, that's certainly the future.
We are planning to open a master in also electrical engineering in, I think, 2 years. And another direction in which we are likely to move is probably biomedical engineering. And that is probably, again, now I'm talking about future, so I may or may not be the way I describe it, but it's probably going to be at the Rinker campus in Irvine, because it's going to be a graduate program and it's going to work connected with our health sciences program there. In particular, we are thinking about issues that have to do with prosthetic and devices for health applications.
So if I could go back a little bit into the COVID situation, and I know obviously you took a lot of actions to keep the students safe and the school open. So going forward, and maybe it's too soon to even know, because I mean, really, we're still in the pandemic. We haven't exited yet. Obviously, we're in the orange tier, but there's a yellow tier. Even though we are Orange County, I'd like to be in the yellow tier.
That's right. That's right.
So let's keep moving forward. But do you think that you'll be incorporating some of the things that you've learned over the last year, preventing, your, infection and things like that, into the regular routine going forward? Like with like say dormitory housing, or just virtual learning. I mean, do you see that as part of your program going forward, or is it just going to go back to in class and that's the end of it?
I mean, that almost is one of the most important questions that we are trying to address. I think what's going to happen, two things are going to happen for sure. One is that we're going to have much more telecommuting than we ever had. I've always been a big fan of it. People didn't feel really comfortable, but now people realize that they can provide outstanding work from home. Now, I wouldn't force this on anyone, because of course it's easy for me to say because I live in a fairly large home. But if you live in a small condo, maybe working from home is not conducive. So we need to be careful and respectful of individual situations. But one of the major expenses for every university in the country is space, office space. Spend millions and millions of dollars for that. And I think that now that we realize that we can operate very well in a remote setting, I think that that's something that I want to see happen more. I think it has a lot of positive implication. It reduced the commuting time. To be honest, I mean, now I'm back on campus every single day, and I feel that already a loss of productivity, because when I work from home, I come down in my shorts and t-shirts and I can work, bam, immediately. There is no getting dressed. There is no driving half an hour to campus. So I would say I save about an hour and a half every day. And because I'm a little bit of a workaholic, that hour and a half becomes added productivity. So that's one thing where we're not going to go back as usual. The second thing is the way we teach. Faculty have learned, and we have all learned to appreciate the fact that we can offer a lot more to the students because of technology. So for example, I'll just give you my personal example, but I know that many of my faculty have felt similarly. I taught a class last semester, and what I did in the summer before the beginning of the class, I took 2 days in which I went to campus and I recorded the entire course. So there were 2 very long days, from 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, recording bits of 20 minutes each, because especially when you teach math, it's very hard for people to keep focus more than 20 minutes. So I recorded a bunch of 20 minutes bit that covered the entire course. And so what I did then, when the course started, on Sunday, I was releasing all the material that was going to be covered that week. And then on Monday and Wednesday, I was teaching. I was teaching through Zoom. But this made the students were able to look at this, watch the videos during the weekend, come to class on Monday afternoon, already knowing most of what I was going to talk about, so that I could actually do more sophisticated example, more complicated things, or answer questions of stuff they didn't understand. I think that that's something that is going to remain. That's what sometimes people call it the flipped classroom. So you give students material in advance. It's phenomenal because, when I was teaching, I don't know, separable differential equation, well, you do it first in Zoom, in this video, and then when you are in class, you do a slightly different way of looking at that, or a slightly different way of deriving the solution, more difficult examples. That builds a much stronger setup. So I think that will remain. There may also be some classes that may move permanently to the online setting. This is probably more difficult to do because Chapman prides itself in the high contact relationship. And I know that students need the socialization aspect. Learning is not just about, you can read the book on your own. I don't need to teach you. I could send you my differential equation book and you read it and you call me when you have a question. But we know that that's not how we learn. We learn by me talking about it and you stopping me. And I talk and I see your face turning around or moving a little bit. I always tell young teachers that the most important thing you have to look is this part of the neck. Because whenever a student doesn't understand, that part of the neck moves forward a little bit. So that's a cue that the student is missing something. And that's what you do, is it? Exactly. Exactly. It's amazing because we all do the same. It's a kind of, you add your attention so the teacher knows. So you need that kind of environment. And I need to be able to walk through the desk when I give an assignment and see what people are doing. So I don't think we're going to replace that, but I think we're going to use technology now to do a much better job. The other positive thing, because when we went remote last March, I realized that Zoom was difficult for my kids, especially on difficult classes. So I started writing up many more notes. I usually don't, I'll say something I shouldn't say, but I usually don't prepare for class. I know math, so you can tell me, Daniele, we need you to teach this class an hour from now, and I go and I'll teach it. That's what. So I don't prepare. I go in and I do it. Well, I realized that the student, when you Zoom, they needed it. So I started writing notes. Well, now I have a book ready to go. I inadvertently wrote a book over the pandemic just by wanting to help the students. I wrote the Zoom, I sent it to them, they sent me back their comments, and now this has blossomed in a book, which is actually co-authored with one of the students. She was the one that really did the most of the job in putting my notes into more book-like form. So I think that that's, again, another example of how the pandemic has pushed us to do something better than we did before.
Do you think any colleges will go to like completely virtual education? Regular four-year institutions where?
I don't think so.
No.
I may be wrong, but I don't think so.
Yeah. We've had a couple of questions pop into the chat line here. One of them wants to know, is there any gaming development within the engineering school?
That's an interesting question. I think that there is some work that is going on between the engineering school and the Dodge College of Film and Media Arts. So thank you for asking that. I wish I knew more about it, but I think that probably the place where this is going to happen is our Dodge College in conjunction with engineering people. But we don't have a formal program.
Okay. So
we have another one here that's come in. This is from a student of yours. It says, thank you so very much for sharing Chapman's progress, plans, and vision. I'm so proud to be an alumni. Do you see community outreach programs growing across all disciplines in person and online to include programs for older community members, senior university classes with easy access for lifetime learning? Thank you for sharing your passions for education, It's contagious and inspiring.
Thank you, Wendy. And the answer is yes, yes, yes. Actually, it's fascinating. We were talking with our board of governors exactly about this maybe 2 weeks ago. And I'm enthusiastic. I used to do this a lot when I was at George Mason. There was an institute called Ollie that does a kind of sort of continuing education. And I enjoy that very much because actually this kind of audience tends to be much more attentive and much more passionate about learning, partly because you're not forced to it, right? If I decide that, one of the classes I used to teach was Renaissance painting and mathematics. So how you discover mathematics in the Renaissance painting. And it was packed. If you don't want to come, you don't have to come. So it's very different. So the answer is yes. Wendy, my email is my last name, Struppa, @chapman.edu. Send me a note and I'll connect you with some of the people that are thinking about this, because that's something that I'm very enthusiastic about. I think it's going to create a connection that is going to go way beyond the time when people graduate. And it's going to be, I think faculty enjoy that, again, because they find, when we teach and student needs to get a grade, there is always this dynamic, right? Well, this is difficult. Is this going to be in the test? When you teach for pleasure, it's very different. The curiosity is unbounded. And so please send me an email. Again, it's Struppa, my last name, @chapman.edu. And thank you for asking that question.
We've got another question here in the Q&A. I'm going to expand it out a little bit. The question is what scholarships are available for, I hope you know what this acronym stands for, BIPOC students in the sciences, just specifically IT. But if you could also just or address generally, how many of your students are like on some type of financial aid? What types of financial aid do you offer?
Sure. So BIPOC, for those who don't know, the acronym is Black, Indigenous, People of Color. So it's as you know, in this arena, the correct name changes constantly. So now that this is the correct name. So congratulations to Deborah for using the most up-to-date denomination. So yes, we actually are making huge efforts to increase our population of students of color. Let me give you some basic statistics. We are now on the verge of being I think it's called minority majority school. So with our freshmen, I think it's now 51% white and the rest is non-white. The largest presence of students of color at Chapman now is Hispanic, between 14 and 16%, and Asian American. I should say Latinx, that's a term there. We have very few Black students, about 2%, and that's reflective, I think, of the Orange County population. So at the graduate level, we are already like 65% non-white. So the university has always been perceived as being kind of a white institution, but I think that perception is really not accurate. And increase in population of minority population really requires additional funding. The university is working very hard in this direction. I can give you a couple of figures that were suggested. The first is that 82% of our students are on some sort of financial aid. That's very large, 82%. The second piece of information which is important is when you take the average, the entering student has about 42% of their tuition paid through scholarship of one form or another. So this is the average, which means some students pay 100%, some students pay 0. On the average, students pay 58% of the price. This is made possible, quite frankly, by the generosity of our friends in the community. And when I became president in 2016, I made a commitment to my board, which at the time was $300 million, to first $500 million, and then $1 billion, because I want to grow the amount of money that we can disburse in form of scholarships. I'm proud to say that by June, we might be at the $500 million. I think we are now 470 or 480 right now, and depending on the day in the stock market. And so we should be able to get to $500 million, if not by June, shortly after. So the other day at the board, I actually posed a new target. It's not the $1 billion, it's a $1.2 billion that I want to get to by 2030. And I want the majority of this endowment to go into scholarship, a very, very important component of what we do. So I to answer your question, we are constantly expanding our scholarship program, especially with a mind to the fact that there are two interesting trends. Starting 2025, the number of students going to college is going to diminish. It's going to flatten and then quite sharply diminish. We are talking now about 10 to 15% decrease, even though places like Chapman won't see that kind of decrease, but that's a decrease, generally speaking, for the entire population. And then we're seeing also an increase in first generation and minority students going to college. And this group of students can't afford the kind of price that universities, prestigious universities like Chapman charge. We are now, I believe, $58,000. So that's where the endowment will really be playing a fundamental role. So starting with 2 years ago, we started to prepare for that. And we had a retreat 2 years ago and last year, and again this year in January. And we are very clearly focused on putting aside the resources to manage this change in demographics. I have to say another thing that I'm very proud about Chapman. I told you before, I'm proud of our ability to open and close the spending faucets really within a day. And that's really what it makes us so successful. But the other thing is that we are long-term planners. We honestly, I mean, I always tell my colleagues and my students, I don't care about next year. My job is not about next year. I could die tomorrow morning and the university would go perfectly fine and nobody would even pay attention. But what my job is to make sure that Chapman is strong 10 years from now, 15 years from now. We have the privilege of not having to be driven by quarter reporting. We can think long term. Chapman needs to be one of the greatest universities in this country in 2030 and 2040, 2050. And that's what we are thinking about. That's how we're planning. And I think we have a spectacular board. We mentioned Mark Hilbert before, he's one of the members of our board. We have a remarkable board. And, our new chair is Park Kennedy. Many of you may know. Park is a CEO of First American. And the Kennedy family has been a friend of the Chapman for many, many years. Our law school is in Kennedy Hall. And we work with them always on looking at what the long-term future is. So, and the scholarship side is one of the fundamental questions we look at. So thank you for that.
All right, well, we're just about out of time here. It sounds like Chapman University is well on its way to cracking that top 100 schools, probably very shortly. Maybe by the next time we have you back. You'll have
maybe next time is a little ambitious, but give me 2 or 3 years, okay?
Okay.
Well, we hope to have you back. My board does.
We hope to have you back before that. But thank you again for your great talk and telling us about all the exciting things that are happening there in Chapman and how you guys have managed to survive this last year. If I look back a year ago, as far as the chamber is concerned, on April 1st, that was the day I fired the entire staff here at the chamber, except for one person, and that one person was not me. I fired myself as well. So we also have managed to navigate the shoals of the pandemic well, and I think we're a stronger institution as a chamber and a business organization, and as a city in general, I think, than we were a year ago. What do they say? If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. So
that's right.
We're all
the only mistake we made in that is when we started hiring people back, we included Steve. So
yeah, pretty soon I'm going to give myself a raise too.
I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to me and for inviting me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you,
Daniel. Very, very impressive. Very impressive.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Before we go, I'll just say that this program has been recorded, so it will be up on our website, and we'll probably send out a copy of it to each of the attendees so you can watch it again. As far as some of our upcoming program, on April 15th, our Government Affairs Committee, which Rush and I also co-host, will feature Mike Carey. He's the representative for CR&R. That's the trash hauler for the city of Newport Beach. There's a lot of things going on in the trash area, both on the commercial side as well as the residential side. So he's going to bring us up to speed on that. We're going to have a networking luncheon on April 20th. And then on May 6th, that's right, our next edition of Wake Up Newport is going to feature Alan Zarenberg. Alan is the president of the California Chamber of Commerce, so the chamber for the entire state. We've had him as a speaker as well. Last time he had to fly down from Sacramento, but due to the miracles of, or thanks to the miracles of Zoom, he will be Zooming in from Sacramento. He doesn't have to fly down, so as Daniele mentioned earlier, people can be way more productive. That would be a little bit more of a commute than 45 minutes. But we're excited to hear from him. A lot of things going on up in Sacramento with regard to business, and there's an unending stream of bills proposed to add additional regulations and taxes and things on business that Cal Chamber is always monitoring and fighting. Many of those things, trying to keep business above above the water instead of sinking below the water. So please, if you're interested in any of those programs, you can go to our website at newportbeach.com and sign up for those as well. Hopefully, Daniele, we'll be able to invite you to a Wake Up Newport meeting in the next few months. I'm thinking June, July timeframe, where we might be back meeting in public. You can make that short drive over to the library and hear one of our great speakers.
Keep fighting that legislature. I was hoping the pandemic would just slow them down a little bit, but
no, accelerate
more and more bills, more and more regulations.
That's right, more and more regulations.
Yeah.
All right, that's all we have for you. Thank you as well, Rush, for joining me today. And everybody be safe. Get a vaccine, get a vaccination. Very important. And still, wear your mask, socially distance, and wash your hands. And on that note, there you go. That's, I've seen these new, did you see that thing? I said, there's these new nose masks. They don't cover your mouth. It's for when you're eating in a restaurant.
Oh my God.
It's the wildest thing. It just covers your nose. Yeah, I don't think that's going to catch on too well. Yeah. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.